Like I said last week, we got a lot of comments, questions, and tips to go over here, and I only did half of them last week, so the rest of them's coming up right now. I'm Tom Kovichak, and this is Tom's Trains and Things. This channel was created to help other modelers who are in need of guidance in pursuing their dream of building a model railroad. Now, all these comments and questions in here, I go over them with you this way because if you watched the video when it was first uploaded, you didn't get to see all these unless you went back and read them all later on. So there's a lot of good information in here, and I'm going to go over them right after this message. If you would like to see more videos like this, learning about model railroading, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, ding that bell, and that'll notify you whenever I have a new video coming out. And I'm going to show you a little short thing about here, how to find my playlist and how to find my videos, because there's a lot of new YouTubers out there that are having issues with finding videos that they need for the information that they're searching for. Click right below the video where it says Tom's Trains and Things. Click on that, and that'll take you to my channel page, and click on playlists. And that will show you all the playlists that I have. I have them grouped into different categories by topic, so it's easy to find. So if you're looking for something on soldering, you can find it. If you're looking for electrical projects, you could find it. If you're looking for DCC, you'll find it. I have over 40 playlists on there where the videos are grouped into categories so you could find them easily. So take a look at it. Here's a question from the Tortoise and Hare video from SFC Rambo 60. I like that name. Can you wire more than one tortoise together like in a yard setup? And yes, you can, and it depends on how you're wiring up together. Now with the tortoise and the hare, if you have a hare on each one of the tortoises, you can set a route for as many as you have on there, up to 28 routes. Now, if you're doing it in another way, like if you're just doing actual DC operation with the toggle switch, you could put as many as you can on that toggle switch to operate it. If you're using it with say like a Digitrax DS64, you could operate 2 on each one of the outputs on the DS64. Now, as far as other manufacturers, I'm sure you could operate 2 switch machines on each one of their outputs also, because it doesn't draw that much current to operate the tortoise switch machine. Now, on the same video, I had one by Dwight Curley. Is tortoise only DCC, or can it be used for DC? Yes, it can be used for DC. It is actually a DC component, and you could hook the DC directly up to it with a double pole, double throw switch to reverse it, going back and forth. Robert Schwarm wrote in, and he's an S-scaler, and he wanted to know about wooden kits in S-scale and how to use force perspective in it. And I gave him the links to a few of my playlists where I have wood kits, and told him even though I do HO, you could learn some techniques for S-scale also. And to use force perspective, all you have to do is shrink down to the next scale and put some other buildings behind it. Say like in HO, where I did HO, I put some N-scale buildings behind it. With S-scale, you can put some HO buildings behind it. So it's pretty easy to apply the wood kits and use force perspective in any scale. You just put something smaller in behind it to make it look like it's further away. Now, Leonard Singer wrote in, do you have anything on a lift bridge? Now, this goes back to the same old thing where I'm going to show you how to go through my playlist and my videos. Now, a lot of people new to YouTube don't know how to do that, so I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to show you how to go through the playlist to see what playlists I have in there, or how to search for the videos in there, and even go on my video page and search for the videos that way. Sal Marino wrote in, what starter set should I use, Digitrax or NCE? Now, I get a lot of questions like this, is what's the best such and such, or which one should I use? That is entirely up to you to decide. You need to do the research on whatever you want to buy. I mean, I could tell you what is the best for me, and if you ask people on Facebook, on the groups on there, or even Yahoo users groups, I know you're going to get a lot of different answers on there, what they would like. But that doesn't necessarily mean that is what is good for you. You have to decide what your needs are, and then do the research, read up on the different starter sets to see what will fit in your budget and in what you want to do with your DCC system. So it's entirely up to you, and that's what I try to stress with everybody when they ask the same question. It might not be the starter set, but that they want to know that even power packs for DC. I've had some questions on that also. Do the research on what you want to buy, and that's the only way you're going to know what is the best for you. I don't know what you need. I don't know what you want. I don't know what your future plans are. So I really can't tell you what is the best possible equipment for you. You have to do your own research on that. Ray Zachman wrote in a question about DC, and he says he has a 2-cab power pack, and he wants to know if he could run a common rail through it. The best way to do it is to separate it. If you have 2 power packs, you need to separate those sections to operate each one of them individually. Otherwise, you're just going to short things out if you have a common rail in between them. So if you have a block over here and a block over here, and you want to run them on separate sections or separate throttles, you need to double gap that so you don't have any short from one to the other. You can run a common rail if you have only 1 power pack, but with 2, you can't do it because you have to keep them separated. Now here's a couple of questions from the Low May, and it's referring to the PM42. Now the first one is, how do you connect your wire from the command station to get 4 separate inputs on the PM42? You could do it in any means that you like to. If you want to solder them together, you could do it that way, but the way I did it when I was putting mine together, I just took a regular splice and I crimped the wires in there, so I have 1 wire coming from the command station and 4 wires going out to the PM42. And his other question was, he has a 45 feet of track, and he wanted to know if the PM42 was good for him. Now, I have obviously more than 45 foot of track, but the reason I used the PM42 was for troubleshooting. If there's a short anywhere, that I can narrow down what section that is in. Not because I need to separate it because it's so big, but you know, it's whatever you want to use it for. If you want to do it for that, for troubleshooting, that's fine. If you want to do it for another reason, that's fine. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. Do you want to spend the money to begin with to have the circuit protection in there that you already have in your command station? Now granted, you can with the PM42 bring it down lower, or you could have it more sensitive than what your command station is. But that's the only advantage of it if you have a small layout, other than separating it for easy troubleshooting. Jim Smotter wrote in about the drop bridge video, and he says, what did you use underneath the track? And I told him I used a double-sided PC board. It had the copper cladding is on both sides of it. And I also used shims, I think it was 5,000 shim stock underneath it, just to bring it up to where the tracks would be level with the ties that I used on the approach to the where I soldered it onto the PC board. And he also mentioned in there that you must have sliced down the center of it, and I says, yes, I did. You have to you have to isolate each track. And when you're using a double-sided PC board, you have to do it on both sides. Otherwise, when you put your nails down through or put whatever you're using to fasten it, it's going to short out the opposite end. So you got to put a slice in both sides of that PC board when you're doing it. And that's a good observation right there. On my Easy Program of CVs, Jeff wrote in about, he has a DSC 210 with a DT 500, and he was saying that Digitrax must have made some changes on it. I told him whenever you hit the program key, you could continue to hit the program key. It'll scroll through the different settings that you could use, the programming modes that you could use on your Digitrax throttle. On my DC reversing loop video, Terry Lefevre wrote in, and he was a little bit confused. He says, if he has a big boy with all those wheels on there, how do you avoid shorting out the tracks on there when you're running that through there? Well, the way you do it is, and I explained it in the video, is when you're rolling over the gap. That's why I put the LEDs in there, to make sure that you have the same polarity if you're going from one section to the next. And it doesn't matter how long your locomotive is or the train that you're using, just as long as your section that you're isolating is longer than what you're running. That way you run it in there, you shut it off, then you have to switch it over for the back end. I know it sounds confusing, but if you go back and look at the video, you'll understand it. Now, I have a couple of comments on here and questions about on the red-green LED wiring. Jack Mason, how do you wire with AC? He's an O-scaler. You can't do it with AC because the LEDs are DC, but you could cut your track power on one side of the double throw switch, and then use DC on the other side of the double throw switch for your LEDs. I have my double throw switch right here, and as you can see, I have the red wires on one side and the black wires on the other side. So if you wanted to run your AC and cut your power to your track on the one side, you could do that on half of the double throw switch, and then on the other side of the double throw switch, use your DC on there for your LEDs. Now, there was another one too by GT500 Mike. Since you're talking about reversing, how about NCE switch and cat and the BD20? I don't have any of those items, so I can't do a review on them or tell you how to use them unless somebody gives them to me, or else I go out and purchase them. So until that time, it's not going to happen. And here's one from Four Brothers Journey. Ben asked one about what side of the LED to solder the resistor. And it really doesn't matter because you have two diodes that are facing each direction. So it really doesn't matter if you put it on the long one or the short one. And even if you're using a regular one, just as long as you have the limiting resistor in there, in that circuit, it doesn't really matter if you put it on the anode or cathode. It's still going to limit the current going to that LED. That's all the questions and comments and tips we're going to put in this video here. Since I started this a couple of weeks ago on my list, I have a lot more comments and questions to go over. So there's going to be another one, maybe the following week or week after that. I don't know when I'll put it in there, but I got some really good ones in there. Model Railroading for Beginners is coming up also. And don't forget to watch Shout Out Monday evening. And we'll see you.